So it's great that we can get together and chat about the reality of our country today. And Devin, from your perspective, we would love to know just how bad are things in South Africa? Do we need to start panicking? Should we be worried? We'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's quite a difficult time in South Africa at the moment. I think it's unnerving. It feels really bad. But I think we run the risk of being very emotional about the reality of South Africa without actually looking at the facts. So we look very, very hard at how bad things are in South Africa, and it turns out that yes, while there are very real issues, it's probably not nearly as bad as it feels. And if you look at certain noises coming out and certain pronouncements at the moment, there's actually reason to be probably cautiously optimistic. I think the best endorsement of that we've had recently is Moody's, which is the ratings agency that still has us at investment grade. They're very important to us because if they do downgrade us, South African debt goes to junk status, as we call it. And Moody's has come out and said that based on where we are at the moment, so not on what we're doing, but where we are at the moment, they're unlikely to downgrade us to junk status. So that's a good thing. They say they still see us as a stable economic outlook. Now, for South Africans, it doesn't feel all that stable, particularly with the recent protests and that, but they're looking at it from a very high level. And then they mention our institutions, and I think we can't underestimate the value of an independent reserve bank, the very strong banking sector that is really world-class, as well as the judiciary that has come under attack recently. But if you look at the prosecuting authorities, the judges and that have really kind of held society together through what's been a very tough time. So yes, we've got issues, but I think my first answer would be that it's probably not as bad as it feels. And I think what we all struggle with is the inherent negative news flow that we get, and struggling to get perspective through that. And we really try to look through the noise and see are the facts backing that up, or are they not. I also hear a lot about, that's all good and well, and we've had the new dawn that feels like it's fizzled out a bit with President Ramaphosa, but nothing's being done. And again, that's probably a bit of a misplaced perception. Yes, it's frustrating that things aren't being done faster, but the reality is that there's no doubt things have been done. If we look at the reconstituted cabinet with much better ministers than we had prior, there were some deputies that were concessions. We have 4 commissions of inquiries going on that are literally day-by-day revelations, and we're seeing the depth of the state capture project happening then. That is happening. And then you're seeing the re-toothed prosecuting authorities. And from what we're hearing, there's going to be concrete action happening with prosecutions probably only next year. And I think when that happens, that's going to lift the national mood a lot. What we still need clarity on, though, is Eskom. That's the big elephant in the room. That's going to come this month. It's actually a big couple months for us coming up, because we've got the Eskom restructuring review coming up. We've got the medium-term budget policy statement, and that's where the Treasury and the Finance Minister are going to probably demonstrate how much they're going to have to cut spending. It's not going to be politically helpful, but they've already showed with the plan they released recently that they're going to do that. You've then got the Moody's review, and as I mentioned, that's important. And then the second leg of President Ramaphosa's investment summit in November. He's got the 100 billion rand goal. He raised 20 billion. I think what he's going to have to do in November is say, look, we still have clear challenges, so own up to those, but say, look, this is what we're doing to get business on board. And I think what's key in all of this is investment from the public sector, but also from the private sector. And I think we'll unpack that in maybe our discussion, whether it's in property or infrastructure, whatever the case is. That's going to really be key to getting the flywheel of economic growth going, and moving us all in the direction we want. Yeah.
So if anyone had to ask you, should they continue to invest in South Africa, your answer at this stage would be?
Yes, so I hear, mainly on the stock exchange, that South Africa is uninvestable. I would reject that. I don't see that in the data that I'm looking at. I think you've got to arm yourself with the facts. I think you've got to be very selective where you invest. But I think we run the risk of saying things are unnerving now, and it's just going to continue indefinitely. And economic cycles just don't work like that. There's enough being put in place to turn what is a very big and bulky ship, and that turn is taking longer than we would like. So I'm quietly optimistic, and I know it's not always a popular standpoint, but I see enough to convince me of that.
There's hope on the horizon.
There's a few silver linings.